Good morning, students. This is our fourth lecture for C programming language. In our previous lecture, we learned some character sets, keywords, constants and variables. See, these are some basic content before learning the C programming language. So these constant, as I told you that these are some basics, means before learn any language you must know what to use, how to use and how to construct a statement, sentence and all that. So what to construct a sentence, what we have to use here, some character sets which is in some character sets. So what we have, capital A to capital Z, small a to small z, then digits, that is 0 to 9, some special character for a special purpose and some backslash character, okay, which is also known as a white space character or ASCII sequence. Okay, then next is keywords. As I told in our early lecture that keywords are reserved words, means Dennis Ritchie developed this lecture, I told you that, but he takes some English words and that words are used for a special purpose, that means for us to perform a particular task. Okay, so that total 32 keywords are there and you should use that keywords for that particular purpose for which they have. Okay, then constant that never changes. In constant we learn there are two types of constant in C programming language, numeric and character constants. In numeric constants there are also two types of constant, that is integer constants and real constant. Integer constant are those number which does not contain any decimal point or any fractional point. It may be negative or positive. You can use it may be with sign or unsigned number. Then real constant are those number which contain decimal point, means it has a fractional part. Then the next is character constant. Character constant, again we have two types of character constants, that is single character constant and string constant. Single character constant is always enclosed within a single quotation marks, and the string constant, which is when we use more than one character or a set of character or a sequence of character, that time that string constant always enclosed within a double quotation marks. Then variable is nothing but the data name. Okay, so there we also discussed some rules for the variables. Okay, so now in this lecture we are going to learn the data type. Okay, we have taken one example of C program. That example is for students जो है उनको एक पर्टिकुलर टास्क परफॉर्म करना है. कौन सा टास्क परफॉर्म करना है आपको? एडिशन का, यानी मशीन से आपको एडिशन करवा के लेना है. टू परफॉर्म द टास्क ऑफ एडिशन यू हैव टू गिव सम इंस्ट्रक्शंस टू द कंप्यूटर एंड अकॉर्डिंगली योर इंस्ट्रक्शंस कंप्यूटर परफॉर्म दैट टास्क ऑफ एडिशन. सो हियर वी आर यूजिंग one example, that is addition of two number. Okay, so first what we did, we take a two variable, that is a equals to 100, b equals to 200 and the processing, that is a plus b. Okay, that is assigned to C, means the result is stored in a C and you have to print the output which is stored in a C. Okay, so how it will works and how the compiler perform this task we will discuss. But this, as I told you, that this is your data. Okay, this is your data. Okay, and this is in this state, in this processing, what you are going to do, what you are doing, that is you are processing the data, processing on the data. That means what the computer will do, it will add the number 100 plus 200 with the 200, and whatever the result come out, it will stored in a C. So all these are variables. Okay, these are variables which is used to store the data. Okay, so this data means what kind of data you have to use in a C. Okay, so for that, before using any kind of data, you have to declare in the program, in your instructions, that what kind of data you are going to use. That means which kind the process, any process किस टाइप के डेटा पर हो रही है. तो उसके लिए हमें क्या चाहिए कि हमें ये चीज पहले ही बता देनी पड़ती है कंपाइलर को कि आप किस टाइप का डेटा यहाँ पे यूज करने वाले हो. लेकिन फॉर दैट व्हाट वी शुड नो द टाइप ऑफ डेटा. ओके, so the type of data, there are many types of data in C, but in a basic level, जैसे मैं as I mentioned in my notes that there are primary data, derived data. Okay, in primary data there are basic data, and this data you should know at primary level. Okay, जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ेंगे वैसे वैसे हम और डेटा टाइप्स इसमें यूज करेंगे. लेकिन एक छोटा प्रोग्राम अभी हमको पढ़ना है. जैसे जैसे हम धीरे धीरे आगे पढ़ेंगे आपके कंसेप्ट वैसे वैसे क्लियर होते जाएंगे. तो जैसे डाउट सेशन में अभी जैसे आपका एवरी वीक आई एम गोइंग टू टेक अ डाउट सेशन. तो इन दैट डाउट सेशन यू कैन आस्क मी एनी क्वेश्चन रिगार्डिंग दिस points, regarding this content. Okay, so here we are going to learn data types, means what kind of data you have to use for the processing. Okay, in our program the first statement is the data declaration. That means the variable declaration. What do you mean by variable declaration? That means what is the name of your data is and what kind of data you are going to use in your program. यानी आपको पहले ही बता देना है. सबसे पहले प्रोग्राम में सबसे पहला स्टेटमेंट आपका ये होता है कि आप किस टाइप का डेटा प्रोसेस करने वाले हो और वो किस में उसका नाम क्या होगा. दैट मीन्स व्हाट इज, एंड दैट इज एक्चुअली नोन एज द नेम ऑफ द वेरिएबल. एज आई टोल्ड यू कि वेरिएबल इज नथिंग बट योर डेटा नेम. सो what kind of data is available in C? So we are right now we are just learning the basic types of data type. Okay, so the first is int. Int means it is stored. Int is only stored or the int type is only the integer type. Okay, so here you can only store integer number when you declare the variable as int. Okay, so before assigning the value, what you have to do, you have to first declare its type. That means int a. That means if you declare a as int, then a is capable to hold only integer type value. Okay, so a क्या करेगा, आपकी सिर्फ इंटीजर टाइप ही वैल्यू स्टोर कर सकता है. Then next is long int. See there, ये जो int डेटा टाइप है ये इसको स्टोर करने के लिए आपके मेमोरी में 4 बाइट्स लगते हैं. How many bytes requires to store a integer data type? So int requires 4 bytes. Means int occupy 4 bytes in the memory location. Okay, so integer there is some restrictions. That means there is some limits to store the integer value. So you can, some machines take 2 bytes, okay, for integer data type, and some machines take 4 bytes for integer data type. I mean it's occupy 2 bytes or some machine occupy 4 bytes. But if you want to store a very big number, big integer number, okay, so the limit of 4 bytes is 32,767 to minus 32,767 to 32,767. But if you want to store bigger than this number, means इससे भी ज़्यादा नंबर, अगर इससे भी बड़ा नंबर है अगर आपको स्टोर करना है, that time you have to declare the variable as a long integer type. Okay, and it occupied 8 bytes in the memory location. Okay, then the next is float. So if you want to store the value with real number, Okay, value of real number. Real number, as I told you, real numbers are those numbers which have a decimal point, which have a fractional point. Okay, so like 23.689. Okay, so number which contain the decimal point are known as real number, and to store the real number, which data type is used? Float. That means if you declare float as b, so b is capable to store the decimal point value. Okay, so how much space occupied by float value? So it occupied 4 bytes in a memory location. Then if you want to store the bigger, see, float can store up to 6-digit number after decimal point, 6-digit number. Okay, but if you want, for more accuracy, if you want to store the more digit number, that means after decimal point आप उससे भी बढ़ा जाते हैं, तो उसके लिए आपको डबल डेटा टाइप यूज करना पड़ेगा. And it occupies 8 bytes in the memory location. How much the space required by the double is 8 bytes. Okay, so it will take up to 14 digits number after decimal point. Okay, so double data type is also used to store a decimal point value. Okay, and the fifth is char data type. What do you mean by char data type? Char data type is the character type. That means if you want to store a single character, so that type you have to use char data type. Okay, so this concept is more clear when we do the programming. Okay, when we start programming, this concept again I will repeat this concept for you, and this will more clear your concept. That time it will be more clearly understandable by you. Okay, so these are the basic types. Now, as we learn character sets, keywords, what is keywords, then constants, then variable, and the data type. So here we are. If you understand these 5 content very badly, then you can write a program. So before start the programming, we must know the basic structure of your C program. Okay, so there is basic. What do you mean by structure of your program? So C is a structured programming language. What do you mean by structured programming? Because the structure is fixed. In only that format you have to write a program. Structure is nothing but a particular format to write a program. Okay, so now we are going to understand the particular format of the program. Okay, so here I will take one example and we will discuss the structure of the program. Okay, so first is document session. So in your program there is one section that is known as document session. See, जैसा हमने पहले से ही एडिशन का एक प्रोग्राम लिया हुआ है, ठीक है, तो मैं उसी एडिशन के प्रोग्राम के साथ आपको इसको लेती हूँ. जैसे हमको एक छोटा सा एडिशन मशीन से करवाना है. ओके, वैसे तो आपने बहुत बड़े बड़े एडिशन मशीन के थ्रू किए हैं, कैलकुलेटर यूज़ किया है. अगर आपको ये डॉक्यूमेंट छोटा सा प्रोग्राम आपको कंप्यूटर से करवाना है, तो उसका एक छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल लेंगे एडिशन का. सो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन इज ओनली फॉर यूजर, इट इज नॉट फॉर द कंपाइलर. जैसे मैंने आपको पहले बताया कि वॉट एवर यू राइट that is known as source code, and that source code is converted into object code with the help of compiler. Compiler क्या करता है, आपने जो भी लिखा उसको क्या करता है, उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं, source code बोलते हैं, और इसको ये compiler क्या करता है, ऑब्जेक्ट कोड में कन्वर्ट करता है. ठीक है, ऑब्जेक्ट कोड में कन्वर्ट करता है, एंड दिस ऑब्जेक्ट कोड इज एग्जीक्यूटेबल. ओनली दिस ऑब्जेक्ट कोड इज एग्जीक्यूटेबल. यही ऑब्जेक्ट कोड सिर्फ मशीन को समझता है. मशीन कैन नॉट अंडरस्टैंड दिस सोर्स कोड. ओके, सो ये ऑब्जेक्ट कोड में जब कन्वर्ट होता है तो कुछ ऐसे पॉइंट्स होते हैं प्रोग्राम में, या कुछ ऐसे हेडिंग्स होते हैं जिसको हमें कंप्यूटर को नहीं देना है, जो हम अपने लिए लिखते हैं. ओके, दैट पॉइंट्स एंड दैट हेडिंग्स ओनली फॉर द यूजर और फॉर द प्रोग्रामर. ओके, तो दिस काइंड ऑफ स्टेटमेंट्स आर नोन एज document section. Okay, for एग्जांपल, जैसे मैंने अभी एडिशन का प्रोग्राम लिखा है तो मुझे यहाँ पे लिखना है कि प्रोग्राम ऑफ एडिशन, प्रोग्राम ऑफ एडिशन। ओके, सो अगर मैं इसको इस तरह से, ये जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है इसको मैं स्लैश एंड स्टार और स्लैश, इससे मैं क्या कर देती हूँ, पूरा इसको इसके बीच में लिख देती हूँ, तो ये एज अ डॉक्यूमेंट करके माना जाएगा, डॉक्यूमेंट सेक्शन। यानी यहाँ सो इसे हम कमेंट लाइन कहते हैं। इसे क्या कहते हैं, कमेंट लाइन, कमेंट लाइन। एंड दिस लाइन्स, ओके, these lines are non-executable lines, यानी कंपाइलर क्या करता है, कंपाइलर doesn't convert this line into object code. Okay, so you can write anywhere in the program this document section. Okay, then the next is, I hope you understand. Okay, but one thing you should remember that when you start the documentation with this mark, it should be and it must be end with this mark. Otherwise, your entire program will be treated as a document and the program will not execute a single instruction or a single line of your program. Okay, so then next is link section. Link section is always given by hash. Okay, so hash include is used to link the file. That means here stdio.h. Okay, there are some header files which are used in link section. Why we use this kind of files? Okay, before starting a program, because some functions and the definition of some functions are given in this kind of files which are stored in a C. So when we use that functions in your program, so the definition of that function is given in this file. So what the compiler will do? Compiler read that about that function in this file. So what we have to do? We have to attach that file with your program. So to attach that file, what we have to do? Hash include stdio.h. Now define section. अब डिफाइन सेक्शन हम थोड़ी देर के लिए स्किप कर देते हैं इसको, क्योंकि ये हम थोड़ा प्रोग्रामिंग पढ़ लें, उसके बाद में हम इसको डिस्कस करेंगे। एंड नेक्स्ट इज ग्लोबल डिक्लेरेशन। ओके, सो एज आई टोल्ड यू कि बिफोर राइटिंग एनी प्रोग्राम व्हाट यू हैव टू डू, यू हैव टू डिक्लेयर ईच वेरिएबल विथ इट्स डेटा टाइप. इट इज मस्ट. बट इफ you declare some variable before the main function, that is int a, okay, and your main function, this is your program. Okay, so this kind of declaration is known as global declaration. Why it is so called? Because it can be used any block of your program. Means this is your one block and this is then you will write a second block. So this variable, the scope of this variable is more. Means you can use here also, you can use here also. Then next is main function. Every ये आपने बिल्कुल रट लेना है, बिल्कुल याद कर लेना है कि every program must return in a main function. हम जब भी प्रोग्राम लिखेंगे हमें स्टार्ट ही मेन फंक्शन से. डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, दिस इज ऑप्शनल. ओके, ये भी ऑप्शनल है अगर आपने नहीं किया तो, लेकिन अगर आप पर्टिकुलर कोई फंक्शन यूज करते हैं तो आप इसको यूज कर सकते हैं. देन ये भी अगर आपको जहाँ जरूरत है, whenever we need a global declaration we have to use it. Is not a compulsory, it is optional, but this is must. This is must because every program, every C program must return in a main function. Okay, then subprogram. Subprogram is executable part. Executable part contain declaration, that is also known as local declaration, initialization, processing and output. Okay, so what is declaration? So जैसे कि मैंने आपको अभी एक एग्जांपल बताया एडिशन का. सो उस एडिशन में डिक्लेरेशन क्या था, int a and b. Okay, means you are going to declare a two, means you are going to use a two data, and that data type is int. Okay, and that data name is, first is a and the second is b. Then initialization. Initialization means initializing the value to the variable. B is equals to 20. Okay. Then processing. What do you mean by processing? A plus B. आपने एडिशन के लिए प्रोग्राम लिखा है, सो ये जो प्रोसेस हो रहा है डेटा के ऊपर, जो एडिशन हो रहा है वो सी पे, और आउटपुट जो कि आपके सी में आएगा. ओके, तो आउटपुट हम हमेशा प्रिंट करते हैं, तो प्रिंट दैट % D एंड C. अब ये जो स्टेटमेंट है, ये स्टेटमेंट ऐसा क्यों लिखा, क्या कैसे लिखते हैं, कब क्या लिखते हैं, ये हम आगे पढ़ेंगे. हमारे आगे के लेक्चर में यही सब हो गया. तो आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ योर प्रोग्राम. ओके, सो रीड my notes carefully. I will explain all these things in very briefly and very clearly, and if you don't understand then you can ask me in our doubt session.